evening. I want to call to order this meeting of the Town of Wendell Board of Commissioners and welcome all of you and welcome to our new town hall. Isn't it beautiful? We're really proud of it. We're going to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight by Police Chief Bill Carter.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Our invocation tonight, we're going to be here through the from Pleasant Grove Baptist Church. Good evening. So happy to have you here with us tonight.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. So my name is Cynthia Smith, and I do bring you greetings from Pleasant Grove Baptist Church, of course, here in Wendell. And so we just want to thank you for the opportunity to just be a part of what's going on in Wendell and then allowing us to participate in the prayer on tonight. With that being said, let us pray. Oh Lord, our Lord, how excellent is your name in all the earth. For your name is great, and it is greatly to be praised. We honor you on this day, and we bless your holy name. We thank you for this forum, which allows residents to come and voice their concerns and their ideas for the betterment of this town. So now, Lord, we ask that you bless each member of this Board of Commissioners and help them to govern in ways that will promote unity, equality, and safety for all the citizens of Wendell. We ask that you give them wisdom and guide them in their decision-making process. For your word tells us, unless the Lord builds the house, the builder labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the guards stand watch in vain. We need you, O Lord, and we ask that you keep watch over Wendell and all its citizens. Help us to lean not unto our own understanding, but help us to acknowledge you in all our ways, knowing that you will direct our path. We love you, we honor you, and we thank you for what you've already done, what you're doing, and what you're going to do. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you so much. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? So is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Moving to our public comment period. The public can participate in the public comment by signing up for public comment the night of the meeting, and you have 3 minutes to speak, or by submitting statements via email to the town clerk on the Friday prior to the board meeting on the Monday that you wish your comments to be read, and they'll be read into the record for 3 minutes. We have no one signed up tonight. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
And now we'll move into our recognitions, reports, and presentations. And item 4A is a youth sports scholarship presentation from Morgan Mann. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about her while she's walking up. Come on, you can come up. Morgan is an intern, and she's a graduate student from Appalachian State. She's doing a wonderful job. I hope she's learning a lot. When I've seen her around town, she's getting experience with all of our departments. I've seen her planting flowers and working at the square. I've seen her way up high in the lift and at tons of meetings, so I think you're getting a taste of all of it, and I hope we aren't scaring you off. But we've enjoyed having you so far. So, all right, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. It's been lots of fun. So good evening. I am going to present on some research that I've had the opportunity to do this summer. There it goes. So it's about the Youth Athletic Scholarship Program that the Parks and Rec Department currently has and how they are implementing it currently and how they plan to continue implementing it and incorporating the strategic plan and the master plan in the future. So just a little bit of background context, some statistics of low-income families in youth sports. Specifically, children from low-income homes, ages 6 to 18, typically experience a dropout in their sport at 6 times the rate of those from high-income homes. This was done as a study by Project Play by the Aspen Institute, which encourages healthy, diverse, more free play for youth sports. Additionally, there was a study done that shows only 21.8% of parents in households with incomes less than $50,000 reported that their child lost interest in a sport within the past year. The study was published in 2022, so it's pretty recent. Whereas on the other hand, middle and higher income homes reported that 30 to 33% of those parents saw their child lose interest in their sport within the year. So just recognizing that as we're able to kind of integrate some of these children from lower income homes and kind of get them introduced into sports, that they're more likely to stick with their sport long term. And there's also just a discrepancy in children ages 6 to 12 of those who have been able to participate in sports. This was back in 2021, so shortly after the pandemic, but it still shows that higher income homes, their children are able to participate at 1.7 times the percent of children from lower income homes. And then just a little demographic of statistics from the greater Wendell metro area. So this contains the FNS and FCMA data from 2020 and 2021, as well as the 2022 poverty rate, which is about a little over 1,000 people using the census data, which it's probably a little bit higher than what the census has recorded. There you go. And specifically reduced lunch statistics. So this can be an indicator of the economic status of a town, as well as the children in that town. So the number of students in Wendell, including East Wake High School, which also has students from Nightdale and Zebulon, was 2,366 students on reduced lunch. And if you take away the East Wake High School to only make sure you're including Wendell residents, it's still over 1,000 students. And recently that have been registered for reduced lunch. So this is from the Eastern Regional Center. They keep up-to-date data on this and continually track it. So a little bit more about this program. It started in 2019, so right before the pandemic. Over this time period, there's been 37 applications, summing to a little over $1,000. And as we know, the pandemic happened a year after, which has had a significant impact on children's participation in youth sports. There's a study that says almost 50% of parents pulled their children out of sports during the pandemic, but about 76% of those parents are in 2022, we're planning on reintroducing their child into sports within the year. So that would be about 2023, 2024 time period, which is really good for the scholarship program kind of reemerging in the town. And we've also had an 80% retention rate of those who have received a scholarship, which is really awesome. Those who receive it really are integrated into the program and enjoy the sport that they have chose to participate in. Something really neat is that there's an anonymous donor currently that funds the other 50% of the registration fee. So in turn, the applicant does not have to pay the registration fee, which is awesome. So across multiple research articles, there's a common theme of these barriers being the common barriers to youth sports participation in low-income families, high cost transportation, lack of awareness and ineffective communication and marketing, lack of parental buy-in and connection, nutritious food sources, lack of sufficient health care, and lack of time. So some high-cost solutions. The registration fee is only one part of being involved in a sport. Equipment is very, very expensive. On average, in the United States, in a year, a family spends $144 on equipment for their child to play sports, and then including the registration fee, travel, camp, etc. They spend about $693 on their child in a year to play sports. So this can be very significant for families across the board, honestly. So there's been research that shows an equipment swap program is a good way to provide confidentiality for families who need equipment for their child to play sports. You organize specific times for people to come pick up gloves, helmets that people have turned in, and that way they can receive that equipment without being in front of their peers. Target, Dick's Sporting Goods, they also offer donations for youth sports, and Donate Sport Raleigh is a local nonprofit organization that was started during the pandemic to help gather equipment for youth and distribute it to them. Another idea that many communities use is a Friends of organization. It's a nonprofit, so it would be Friends of Wendell Parks and Rec. They would be able to go out into the community and generate funds by asking local businesses and corporations to donate money for marketing of their business in return. Donate a season. This is a really cool idea to put on registration forms. Families who can afford to pay the registration fee of another child can do so if they opt for it on the registration form. So this is another way to continue integrating children into the program without having any impact on the Parks and Rec Department. Local fundraisers, outside organizations can host these. Additionally, just making sure parents are aware that there's other opportunities and programs available to help them financially. So providing other options for parents on the website. The J.B. Brown Fund is one that offers grants to youth that want to participate in sports. So just making this information aware or open to the public. Additionally, transportation is a large issue for many families. So creating something like a carpooling system that can connect all the parents on a team to offer their child rides. The Go Kid app is also a phone app that connects parents with family and friends to organize rides for their child, which is really neat. Some other ideas into the future as the program grows, offering sports right after school, so having a bus that takes them from school to the community center. Go Wake Smart Ride is a free rideshare program in Wendell, Zebulon, and Rollsville that can give people transportation that need so. The NRPA is also working towards safe multimodal transportation. So things like greenways, which I know is something that we are currently working on and will continue to provide access for people, not just walking, going into town, but also to maybe even go to sports practice in the future. Offering practices and games at a couple other locations, or maybe even creating teams that only practice and play games at one specific location. So kind of in addition to this transportation issue, the master plan, the Parks and Rec master plan that was completed in 2019, completed a survey for the town of some of the barriers that households face using regular public access of recreational facilities and programs. And the number 3 answer at almost 23% of respondents was that the distance was too far to a local facility. And just looking at other research, it shows as well that non-white and low-income neighborhoods are 50% less likely to have a recreational facility in their community. So just making sure that these facilities are distributed amongst the community, which, as you can see in the master plan, this is something that's already been thought of, and there's plans to integrate this idea as facilities are going to be considered outside of the core of Wendell to cater to these neighborhoods. So lack of awareness, those families that do not have consistent email and internet access will not receive the promotion that is on the web. So maybe just considering sending home brochures and applications with students from school, including the financial assistance program on all material to make sure that it's really the community is aware, hang flyers in restaurants, lots of public community spaces, libraries, etc., and then also face-to-face marketing, so presenting to parents at school activities such as Meet the Teacher Night. Additionally, making sure that parents feel a connection with the sport that their child is playing, so conducting a parents meeting at the start of the season, getting everybody to introduce each other, make new friends, establish a team communication platform such as GroupMe, and also just recognizing that parents who don't prioritize physical activity themselves tend to have an impact on the way their children view sports. So just making sure they're educated on the benefits of physical activity and maybe promoting ideas such as parent and child sports nights. Additionally, so nutritious food sources. 1 in 6 children in North Carolina are food insecure, and specifically within Wake County, 14% of those children are deemed food insecure. So there is a significant number in our surrounding areas, but 28% of those who are food insecure cannot receive SNAP benefits because they're above the poverty line. So just making sure that we provide resources for those people to make sure that lack of nutrition is not one of the barriers to them participating in extracurriculars. Additionally, Latinx, Black, Native American, and rural households experience higher rates of food insecurity than other households. And there is the population, those demographics within Wendell. So just making sure that we recognize that and cater to these communities, working with local food banks or things like that to maybe have snacks offered at practice, or take-home snacks from practice, things like that, to make sure these children are getting the proper nutrients. And sufficient health care. So the Eastern Regional Center provides free sports physicals, which is really awesome for those who qualify. Additionally, the Children's Health Insurance Program, or CHIP, it extends health coverage to children whose families do not qualify for Medicaid but are still unable to afford private health insurance. And actually, as of April 1st this year, all children that were on this program, or NC Health Choice, were automatically moved to Medicaid. So now they're receiving more benefits, such as free transportation for non-emergency appointments, such as physicals, early and periodic screening, and they do not have to pay enrollment fees or copays for their appointments, which is really awesome. So just continuing to spread this information so that people don't feel this is a barrier to interacting in sports and things like that. And then, so lack of time was actually another significant issue that was pointed out on the Parks and Rec Master Plan. The greatest barrier to the households in Wendell, the regular use of the public parks and facilities, was lack of time. Almost 50% of respondents marked this answer. Additionally, studies show that children from low-income families tend to experience additional responsibilities, such as maybe watching a sibling or contributing financially by having a job. So recognizing these concerns as well as transportation and maybe making practices shorter, taking a survey of what times and days are best for those participants on the team, maybe have certain leagues that don't require practices, something that's a little bit more free play and fun, or setting up a carpool system, or offering childcare for siblings at practice. So kind of digging right into the statistics and the scholarship funding program in Wendell and other towns. So the town of Wendell covers 50% of the cost. The resident is assumed to pay the remaining 50%, as long as we have the anonymous donor. That will be free. The town of Wake Forest uses 75% fee assistance, and the remaining 25% is covered by the resident. Fairfax County, their rate of reimbursement varies from 18 to 24% of the requested funding from the participant. Lexington County has vouchers depending on household income and size. And Huntersville, North Carolina also has 25 and 50% discounts based on family income. Oops. Okay. And this is just a little cost analysis. Say the anonymous donor is no longer providing in the future. This is the cost analysis that it would take to sponsor one child from each sport per age group, which would be 38 residents, just over $1,000. And then if we wanted to sponsor 76 residents, 76 children, which would be 2 children from each age group per sport, it would just be over $2,000. So a relatively low cost for a big impact. And the requirements. So this is really the only thing, the only discrepancy that I saw between the town of Wendell and other towns is the requirements for eligibility to apply for the scholarship. So the requirements on the Wendell scholarship application, up to 18 years old and through high school. You must be a resident, which is across the board for all other towns as well. You must qualify for free school lunch and receive government benefits, and then just the 50% payment. Whereas other towns, Wake Forest, pretty much all the requirements match up except for you either receive free or reduced lunch, or a social services approved assistance letter has to be provided. The same for Mebane. You either have to receive government benefits or financial assistance. And the town of Huntersville, you have to provide your current W-2 form or official documentation from CMS that shows proof of meeting all those requirements. So the largest discrepancy that I saw was that Wendell requires the applicant to have both free or reduced lunch and government benefits, whereas it's one or the other for other towns. So just proposing that maybe only requiring one of those qualifications will bring in more applicants. And deciding between the two, free or reduced lunch or government benefits, we are more likely to see more applicants if we make the requirement free or reduced lunch only. It's easier. It's an easier process. It may apply to more people. It's updated yearly, so it's always up to date with the CPI. So from July 1st to June 30th of next year, for reduced meals, the annual income for a family of 4 is $55,000, and for free lunch, the annual income for a family of 4 is $39,000. Whereas for government benefits, there are income requirements as well as meeting one of the qualifications listed above, so pregnant, 65 years or older, a guardian to a child, 18 years or younger, et cetera. So a lot more specific to receive government benefits. And so lastly, just recognizing that this program really aligns with both the 2023 strategic plan for Wendell and the 2019 master plan for the Parks and Rec Department is really important. It's going to help meet both of the goals for both of those. And so goal 4 from the strategic plan mentions parks, recreation, special events, and culture. So this would align very directly with that goal. Additionally, for the master plan, it mentions specifically developing additional park and land and facilities to areas outside of the town core. So that would also, this research also backs that goal up as well. So, thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Morgan? Jason?
Morgan, on the FMS data, did you look at multiple years of that? Like, did you get to see, I know it was like roughly 1,200 people, but I also know that that's a number that is the qualifications for free and reduced lunch changed a couple times during the pandemic. And I was wondering if we're on the upswing or a downswing. I didn't know if you saw other years' data.
I spoke with Eastern Regional Center, and I was mostly provided data from the past couple of years, not really any prior. So it's the most current up to date, as far as I'm aware.
But all those numbers generally looked about the same. I would imagine they all looked about the same.
Yes.
I think this is a question for staff. Have we had anyone apply that we denied or that wasn't able to get a scholarship?
Not that we're aware of.
So, Madam Mayor, I was making a few comments.
Go ahead.
I think that we should increase the scholarship amount to 75%, like Wake Forest is, and allow that 25% to be paid by the applicant. Right now, that would be paid by an anonymous donor, and by my math, that would increase our anonymous donor amount by 50%. Make it last longer. I did not realize that we had duplicative, thank you for finding that, duplicative requirements. I didn't realize we had any requirement. And I may have to argue that, but I would argue that until we have an overwhelming amount of people, we shouldn't have any requirements on that, and that can be something that we come back and look at because the people aren't accessing it. There's a lot of reasons. I, for instance, was a kid that sometimes went to camp or sometimes played an extra sport on some version of a scholarship from my church, but it was because my parents were, like, that would have been, the sports were the first thing that were going to be cut. Right? We're not going to cut the other stuff. So I'd like to see some streamlining in what it takes to get that scholarship, and I'd be fine with it being nothing until proven wrong, and I'm happy to be proven wrong, and we can gear it back. I'm sure staff will find some happy medium there. And you brought up free and reduced lunch. I think that that is a very clear metric that is constantly evaluated, and it's one I'm comfortable in talking about. Kids qualify and parents fill out paperwork and it's sent back to the school, typically through the school system. My suggestion to us would be that we reach out to the school system, and when we know that kids are sending home that paperwork, if nothing else, a flyer that says, hey, if you get free and reduced lunch, we want you to know that you qualify for a scholarship. That way kids are getting, kids and parents are getting the information at the time of year that they typically make lots of these types of decisions, planning things out for the year. And that's our audience, right? We're not marketing to anyone but the people that would qualify. And that seems like a pretty send it home with the students way. Those are the only comments. Thank you so much. It's very clear that you go to Appalachian State. And you I am excited that you're here, excited that you did this work. Thank you for highlighting those things. Those are my comments, and I'll certainly, as you head back up the mountain, see if we can't make some of these changes that you found.
I'd like to see us also put on the application if a parent would be willing to sponsor another child,
Yes,
because I think people would do that
I think that
without hesitation.
look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people.
I would have done that. So, I mean, I think that'd be a good thing for us to add to our application process.
You're saying eliminate some of the requirements, that's a good idea.
Well, I like one
Also,
of
there's
them.
working families that have
Yeah.
6 kids, but they don't receive anything. What about discounts for
Yeah,
kids
Fair
too?
point.
So,
Get rid of the requirements, you don't have to worry about it.
that's right.
yeah.
Yeah, and if you get rid of the requirements, and then you open up the opportunity for other people to contribute as well. And it just, I think then you have exponential growth on the entire
This is just.
reason and the program, and, yeah, just town residents.
Town residents, yes.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, we'll move into our public hearings now. The first one, item 5A, is a public hearing for contiguous annexation A2304 for approximately 3.31 acres. PIN number 1794245819, 1794353087, located at 0 and 4790 Wendell Boulevard. Mr. Coates.
Yep. Good
I
evening,
looked
Mayor and
over
board
I
members.
looked that way, looking for you.
It feels awkward sitting on the other side.
Oh.
Also, I feel very close to y'all, which is not our normal feeling, so let's
All
get,
about a
we
lot
also
of
don't have a computer here to manage the,
adjustments
so
to make.
I'm totally flustered. No, I'm kidding. The first public hearing tonight is for contiguous annexation. We are actually the applicant, the town of Wendell. This is related to our water and sewer facilities that, when we merged with the city of Raleigh, these properties are still owned by the town, but need to be annexed before they're conveyed to the city of Raleigh. So this first one is related to 2 parcels for contiguous annexation of roughly 3.3 acres. I can field any questions that you have, but we are the applicant, so.
Okay. Open the public hearing. Anything from the board? there anyone here tonight that would like to speak for or against this? And you sure there's no questions from the board? All right, we'll close the public hearing. What's y'all's pleasure?
Madam Mayor, I move we approve the annexation and adopt the attached ordinance for 0 and 4790 Wendell Boulevard.
All right, we have the motion to adopt the attached ordinance and approve the annexation petition. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Item 5B is a public hearing for a non-contiguous annexation, A2305, for approximately .399 acres, PIN number 17944699939, located at 5171 Wendell Boulevard. Mr. Coates.
Yep, this is the second public hearing. Again, in this annexation, we're the applicant. It's our property. It's roughly .4 acres, located at 5171 Wendell Boulevard. It's right as you approach Little River, and so it is part of our water and sewer infrastructure that needs to be annexed and eventually conveyed to the city of Raleigh with our merger requirements. I can field any questions that you have on the annexation.
All right, open the public hearing. Any questions from the board?
I do just have a question
Yeah.
on this one. I remember a conversation earlier about, I know we had some of these as part of the merger that we had to work through. I think we were breaking them out in chunks over time. Are there more town properties that are not inside the town limits that we're gonna
Yes.
have this conversation about after this tonight, or does this finish?
Yeah, in fiscal
This
year
project.
'24 for the planning budget, we have funds identified to deal with the remaining parcels that will come to you as well,
Half of the remaining.
half of the remaining.
Okay, but we're continuing through the process.
Yes.
This is just another step. Okay,
Yep.
thanks.
Anything else from the board? Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak for or against the annexation petition? All right, we'll close the public hearing.
Madam Mayor, I move we approve the annexation petition and adopt the attached ordinance.
We have a motion to approve the annexation petition and adopt the ordinance. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Item 5C is a request to rezone CD 2301, approximately 3.12 acres from rural agricultural to neighborhood center conditional district to establish Jake May mixed-use development.
Good evening, Mayor and board members. This next public hearing is related to the Jake May mixed-use project. As the mayor mentioned, it's roughly a little over 3 acres at the intersection of Jake May and Wendell Falls Parkway. The applicant is requesting to rezone those acres from rural agricultural to neighborhood center conditional district. The intent is to create a two-building mixed-use development containing up to 44 residential units and at least 3,000 square feet of non-residential uses in each building. Current plans show 2 4-story buildings totaling roughly almost 75,000 square feet and containing 36 apartments. The plans also show a 2-level parking structure. The 2 buildings, based on zoning conditions, could range in size from 71,000 to 82,000 square feet total and be either 3 or 4 stories per zoning conditions. You could see the roughly 3 acres right at the intersection of Wendell Falls and Jake May on the southwest side. The land around it, there's been some rezonings across Jake May. There is the park at Wendell that's currently under construction. Those are 3-story townhomes. To the south is Jake May Residential, which is 90 lots of single-family. To the north, there is 1032 Wendell Falls Parkway, which is a mix of single-family and some townhomes. And then to the northeast are the single-family homes for Horseman Park and Kennelman Circle that were constructed a little over 10 years ago. So there's a lot of residential. This project provides a mix of potential commercial uses to serve those residential units and the throughway traffic of Wendell Falls Parkway. The proposed project is meeting all of our requirements for lot sizes. The applicant is proposing just 1 lot, meets all of our requirements. They are, however, asking to go to 4 stories from neighborhood center traditionally allows 3. It is a zoning condition, and other neighborhood center mixed-use projects have requested 4 as well. Some zoning conditions related to the project: a maximum building height of 4 stories, a 10-foot multi-use path along the frontage of Wendell Falls Parkway. The path will utilize use of public access easement along the property frontage to accommodate that path. Condition 3, gateway overlay, street yard buffer shall be a minimum of 10 feet. Zoning condition 4, the following uses will be permitted by right: dwelling of multifamily, child adult daycare center, brewery, distillery, general retail of 10,000 square feet or less, general retail of 10 to 50,000 square feet, a bar, tavern, and an event venue outdoor. They are planning like an outdoor plaza between the two buildings. The development shall include 2 mixed-use buildings as defined in section 19.3 of the UDO, each to be a minimum of 3 stories and include at least 3,000 square feet of non-residential uses. They are showing a maximum of 44 residential. The current plans show 36. In addition to the required improved open space, the park space shall include at least one of the following amenities: a playground, exercise stations, dog park, and a picnic area. The overall site plan, the building to the north is 4-story. All 36 apartments are currently located in that building. A portion of the first floor is parking that you can see there on the northwest side. The building to the east is all commercial at this time and non-residential. And you can see the square kind of there in the central of the site is the parking facilities for the uses. They're required to have 122 parking spaces. They're providing 159. They're also providing 8 bike racks. So this project is designed for the neighborhood residential nearby to go there for their any of their non-residential needs. For example, like you could have coffee shops, retail, doctor's offices, a variety of things that could serve those residential units. Building elevations, you can see here the different brick materials and overall materials they're using for the site. The building that's showing all commercial right at the corner of Jake May and Wendell Falls Parkway. Traditionally there in that view looks like it's 3, but there is part of the bottom floor due to the parking deck that does contain some retail space, so it is roughly 4 stories as well. Environmental, the applicant will need to obtain stormwater, sedimentation, erosion control permits from Wake County before any site work can commence. The proposed development plan will need to meet all of the town's UDO requirements. Currently, they are showing that the stormwater will be proposed underground. At this time, there will not be any above-ground stormwater ponds or facilities. Buffers, UDO requires a 10-foot type C buffer adjacent to the church property. To the west, no buffer is required against the Jake May residential property as the zoning classifications are close in nature and don't require an additional buffer. The proposed development plan does include street tree plantings along both Wendell Falls Parkway and Jake May as required. The street trees along Wendell Falls Parkway are behind the 10-foot multi-use path as requested by NCDOT, but in front of the Duke Energy easement. UDO does require open space for the multifamily units. They're required a minimum of 18,000 square feet for the 36 multifamily units. They're providing almost 19,000. And as the zoning condition states, they do need to include either a playground, exercise stations, a dog park, or picnic area. Streams and wetlands, there's no environmentally sensitive areas that exist on this site. Transportation, the TIA was required as there will be just over 100 peak hour trips. Wendell Falls Parkway, there is a right-in and right-out only to site access drive 1. A median will be installed to prohibit left turns into that site. And then there's a 75-foot right turn lane into the site from Wendell Falls Parkway. They will also have to dedicate additional right-of-way and do other road improvements required by the town beyond the TIA for Wendell Falls Parkway and Jake May. Jake May Drive will have full access to the site number 2, and then a westbound left turn into the site as well. The intersection will be monitored for a signal. That was DOT's recommendation. And so as other TIAs or development or traffic counts come out, DOT will reevaluate that intersection for a traffic signal. The arterial and collector street plan does call for Wendell Falls Parkway to be a 4-lane major collector divided roadway that at the intersection with Jake May is where Wendell Falls will transition down to a 3-lane and then a 2-lane as you come into the core of the community today. Jake May is a minor thoroughfare, 3-lane undivided roadway, and will require some widenings, bike lanes, and street trees as well, and sidewalks. The comp plan currently classifies this area as medium residential 1. When the comp plan was created, the Jake May projects some of them were in review in that area for residential. What ended up happening was this 3-acre parcel was left to the previous owner, and their vision was a commercial use, which did not appear in our comp plan at that time. So right now, the comp plan shows medium residential 1 for the development, which is all residential, so it doesn't include multifamily or commercial. And anytime that there's a potential to adjust the comp plan, projects need to show that they're reasonable and have a public benefit. What this project should be classified, if it's approved, is Activity Center 1, which allows for a mix of retail and residential units. It meets the goals of that with open space, as there is a plaza and other space that can be used for those visiting that site or for other events in the community as well. And as I said, any recommended change to the zoning map should be accompanied by a statement. Currently, with medium residential 1, this proposed project is not consistent with the comp plan, but could be considered reasonable for the following reasons. Neighborhoods and housing diversify our housing to appeal to different groups, age, income, lifestyle preference, and family situations. This project, providing a mix of commercial and residential, we do not have multifamily units mixed in with commercial at this time. So it is a different type of project, different type of a neighborhood for people. Centers of activity amend zoning to accommodate mixed-use nodes of development in key areas, and this is certainly a key area, Wendell Falls and Jake May. Economic development, support development of those key nodes. Connectivity, connect neighborhoods to downtown with greenways and or a side path along major corridors. Project could be considered reasonable for those reasons. Technical review committees completed their review of the plans, and all comments were addressed by the applicant. The applicant did hold a virtual neighborhood meeting on May 18th. The project team was in attendance. There were no neighbors that joined the meeting. Staff's recommendation is the development is consistent with the comp plan, but could be considered reasonable since it fulfills the goals of the comp plan noted above, and therefore staff does recommend approval. Planning Board at their June 20th, 2023 meeting, the Planning Board voted 8-0 on the motion to recommend approval of the conditional district. And the applicant is here, can field any questions that you have. They do have a presentation, and I can answer any questions you may have from staff as well.
Okay, let's open the public hearing. Any questions from the board at this point? Okay, let's hear from the applicant.
Just up or down. Thanks.
Good evening, Mayor Gray, members of the board. My name is Ashley Honeycutt-Terrazas with Parker Poe. With me here tonight is Vishu Bamapali from GW Investments. You may have seen the sign out there on the property that it's for sale there on Jake May Wendell Falls Parkway. That's outdated. It has been sold. And they are the applicant and the intended developer for this site. Garrett Frank with the Timmons Group, civil engineer that helped us with the master plan, is here as well to answer questions. Jeff Hockenodel from the Timmons Group as well did the TIA, here to answer any transportation-related questions. And then Kurt West from the West Workshop, architect for the project, is here to answer questions as well. So Brian did a great job of summarizing the request here, the conditional rezoning and our master plan. But this is just kind of driving home the point. This is right in the middle of a lot of approved residential projects. And the idea would be that this could be a first of its kind mixed-use project to provide some of those commercial amenities, some opportunities for employment as well for people in the area. And I've got all those called out there. This is a version of our master plan here, the master plan layout. So those blue boxes represent the two mixed-use buildings that we're committing to here. So each one is going to be a mixed-use building, which means that with at least 3,000 square feet of non-residential uses, so 6,000 total minimum. And then you also have right now our plans are showing, like Brian mentioned, 36 residential units. We have in there, it could go up to 44, but any other space is going to be non-residential space. The green box represents the structured parking, 2 levels of structured parking. We actually have more parking than the minimum to make sure that there's enough parking for the people using the development. There in purple, on Wendell Falls Parkway, that's a 10-foot multi-use path, which is also consistent with your comprehensive plan. And then on the Jake May frontage, that calls out the 6-foot sidewalk there that would connect to the Jake May subdivision just there to the south. And then the park space, they're kind of in the back of the site. That's where we're already meeting the open space requirements, but we're committing to additional amenities. And what the final choice would be, is going to be based on what the unit mix is going to be, the type of tenants, non-residential, commercial tenants, maybe office employers, medical, that the development attracts. These are the elevations that Kurt has worked on. What we're envisioning here for this project, there on the left, that's the view looking from Wendell Falls Parkway. There on the right, that's the view looking at Jake May. Like Brian mentioned, right now we have all the residential units in that northern building, and then some ground floor retail, commercial space as well. And then that other building would, the way we have it planned now, would be all non-residential. And again, these are the zoning conditions. And just a few quick points on these. Again, maximum of 44 residential units, a minimum of 3,000 square feet in each building. The mixed-use building type also comes with some architectural standards, and our elevations meet all of those. And then, again, the condition to additional amenities that are not required by the code. And this is just calling out some of the policies from your comprehensive plan that Brian mentioned. The ones in bold were in the staff report, but I'll also add that you also have policies in your comprehensive plan about providing more options to live and work in Wendell, and we think this is a project that can provide that, and then also create space to meet varied demands of the citizens of Wendell. So with that, I will conclude, and like I said, I'm here to answer questions, our team's here to answer questions, and I'm looking forward to your feedback.
Are there any questions from the board? Any questions? Okay, not right now. Is there anyone that, any citizens that have come tonight that would like to speak about this project, or against, or have any comments they'd like to make?
Yes.
Let me have your name and address, sir.
John Boyette, 502 Mugo Pine Court. Also own a farm that sits behind this, not directly adjacent, but close to it. I just want to say glad to see commercial coming along Wendell Falls at an intersection. It's not a major intersection, but it's only going to see more traffic with all the neighborhoods and stuff being built. I realize that the 3,000 per building commercial just gives some leeway to push a little more on this side, a little more that side. I would like to see more commercial use, maybe like a minimum 25% or something like that. There's a lot of residential being built out in that area, and I mean, we all know the growth's coming. Commercial is what we're really lacking. Commercial is what I think people are saying we need more of: stores, doctors, people to do hair, whatever. I realize it's probably going to be more than that, but just in the future, maybe if we could set some sort of minimum, since we're giving up this nice corner lot there that's right on the thoroughfare, just get a little more commercial out of it. That's basically all I had, but I am glad to see it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other questions from the board? Comments? All right, we'll close the public hearing.
Quick comment.
Okay.
Just mainly to say, I think you've heard this board say mixed use, mixed use, mixed use a lot of times over the last couple of years. Glad that you've heard that. I like this proposal a lot and would love to see some other things along these lines in the future.
Anyone else? All right. Do I close the public hearing? What's y'all's pleasure?
Mayor, I move we approve the rezoning,
Request.
rezoning request for the neighborhood center conditional district to create Jake May mixed use
And adopt the
and
ordinance.
adopt the attached ordinance.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the rezoning request and adopt the ordinance. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Last one tonight, item 5D is a public hearing to consider an economic development agreement with Oppidan Development for the Wendell Commerce Center.
Good
Mr.
evening.
Garner, good evening.
This agreement, as the item summary says, was seen in June and was approved. This, however, is the public hearing to meet the statutory requirements for that process. This, again, is a development agreement for economic development between Oppidan Development and the town of Wendell, and it outlines each party's responsibilities in that development process. Just as a reminder for the board, the agreement provides for all of the parcels related to infrastructure improvements for the Commerce Center planned unit development approved in November of 2022. The developer estimates the appraised value of the development to be over $250 million at build-out. It includes a large business incentive grant for the development, consistent with the town's largest business incentive policy, which includes reimbursements of actual property taxes paid over a 5-year period and decreasing percentages from year one, starting with 95% and ending in 55%. It also reserves water and sewer allocations for average daily flows of 507,100 gallons of water per day and 461,000 gallons of sewer per day, consistent with the amounts estimated for the development in the PUD. And the agreement is consistent with adopted town policies, and staff recommends approval.
All right, let's open the public hearing. Are there any questions from the board? Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak about this? No? All right, we'll close the public hearing. What's your, gentlemen, what do y'all want to do?
Mayor, I move we approve the economic development agreement with Oppidan Development for the Wendell Commerce Center
And authorize the town manager to sign the agreement.
and authorize the town manager to sign the agreement.
All right, we have a motion to approve the development agreement between Oppidan and the town of Wendell and authorize the manager to sign the agreement. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We'll move to our administrative items. Item 6A is the introduction of bond orders authorizing the issuance of $38 million of parks and recreation facilities bonds and $12 million transportation bonds. Designation of the finance director to file the sworn statement of debt and the statement of disclosures, and set a public hearing for bond orders for August 14th, 2023.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome.
Good evening, everybody. As the mayor stated, we're kind of, in summary, trying to move forward or continue to move forward in our bond referendum procedures. So tonight, we're going to have the first reading of the two bond orders. As Mayor Gray indicated, one for parks and recreation facilities, one for transportation improvements. Additionally, we're requesting a motion to designate myself to file the sworn statement of debt and the statement of disclosures with the clerk, consistent with statutory requirements. And finally, to make a motion to set a public hearing for a second reading of the bond orders at the August 14th meeting. So first, introducing the bond orders. The attached bond orders that are in your packet are provided for the first reading to the board. Two separate bond orders, $38 million for parks and recreation facilities, $12 million for transportation improvements. The Parks and Rec facility bond would provide funding for parks, greenways, and other recreational facilities. The projects anticipated to be funded include a new recreation facility, recreation center with multiple indoor courts, a new athletic field complex, and the construction of greenways consistent with the adopted Parks and Recreation Master Plan. The transportation bonds provide funding for various transportation improvements, which include various surfaces, signalizations, streetscapes, and other improvements that are used by vehicles, bicycles, and pedestrians. The projects anticipated from this funding would include improvements to intersections such as Wendell Falls Parkway and Eagle Rock Road, and other projects that have been identified in the adopted transportation plan, such as the widening of Wendell Falls Parkway. Secondly, as I mentioned earlier, is the designation of myself, the finance director, to file the sworn statement of debt and statement of disclosures. These statements have been prepared in conjunction with Davenport, who is our financial advisor, and Womble Bond Dickinson, our bond counsel. They meet all requirements through the Local Government Bond Act and provide information to include the orders, which we've just heard. Estimated interest to be paid through the potential debt issuances, potential property tax increases, two-thirds capacity statements, which do not apply in this particular case. And further, the statements provide that the gross and net debt proposed by the two orders is a total of $50 million. There's no deductions. It provides the current assessed value as provided by the Wake County tax assessor and the percentage of assessed value represented by adding that debt. And then finally, again, we'll be asking to set a public hearing at the next meeting, which is August 14th, to do a second and final reading of the bond orders. So with that, that's the summary of what we're requesting and why. I'm happy to take any questions. We have representatives for both Davenport and Womble Bond Dickinson. So thank you.
Any questions from the board? Yes.
So, on average, how much are our taxes gonna go up?
I'm sorry now?
What are the taxes gonna go up to if it passes?
So it would depend on your property value, but we are, the proposal calculates an upfront tax rate increase of 6.9%, or 6.9 cent, on top of what the rate is currently now at 47 cent. Again, the actual dollars for a tax increase would depend on your property values.
So there's no examples, like 300,000 or just to give the public an example
So
of how much are they gonna go up if they vote yes?
So it's one of those things that's hard to siphon down on because it also depends on how we write budgets as a board. When we come in and write budgets as a board, if we see increased revenue, you may not pass that on. You may not pass any of it on. I think you're gonna pass some of it on. I don't think you're gonna pass 6 cents on. So it's the decision of us as we look at it. Remember last time we talked about how we can take the first.
Is it 18 cents?
Yeah, so we can take the first borrowing, we can take a second borrowing, we can take a third. It allows us to go in and decide at that time, okay, it's 3 years from now. The bond says we could borrow up to this. What do we want to borrow? And that's when you're gonna be setting that rate. That's when you'll be able to tell people, here's what it's gonna cost you. What this does is get us the approval to go through all of that process. So this is allowing us to have that conversation in the future. But we only have to pay to do the bond one time.
It is possible to do some what ifs. That's what you're looking for. I mean, it is possible to do that. And with a calculator.
Just so they know before they vote on it, you know, just.
And if
The
this were,
taxes go up $500 a year and they're on fixed.
How much is 6.9 cents on $100,000?
that's $69.
$69?
Yes, sir.
Right, so on a $300,000 house, it'd be 3 times that. So it'd be about $180 to $200 a year.
So the public knows, you know, because if it
And-
could possibly be the high.
Or that they would have access to all those amenities.
No.
Yeah.
Just curious, just want to be aware of it.
Just a different thing, sorry, I know we're getting used to the new room. I've gotten a couple texts that people can't hear us really well. It may
I
be,
turned my
if you
phone
want to
on.
try to talk into the microphone a little bit. Yeah.
We gotta work on it.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
For awareness, I've asked staff in the room to increase the board mic volume. We can do that remotely, and I texted after an earlier,
I thought I noticed mine got louder.
yes.
I talked louder than I was.
The technology allows us to be a little more responsive on the fly for you.
That's great.
We can turn up individual mics or turn down individual mics depending on how loud or soft a particular person is at a given time.
This is the first time we've all been in here, so we're
Yep.
figuring.
Are you going to
it
do that
out.
depending on what we say too?
So who gets to
out.
control that?
Yeah, can I have the button that turns people up and down? Because I might want to do that.
IT Manager Gregory Kipiego is a very generous soul and will give you a lot of latitude, I'm sure.
Okay. All right, any other questions or comments from the board? Okay. So,
Mr., there's.
yeah, do we need?
Here, Mr. Attorney, how many separate motions do we need, or do we need one
does it need
motion?
one motion? I have that.
I can make it one motion, I just want to know if it's like.
Defer to bond counsel, but I think one.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, I move we receive the first reading of the bond orders, make the motion to designate the finance director to file the sworn statement of debt and statement of disclosures, and make a motion to set the public hearing for the bond orders for August 14th, 2023.
Is that good? All right. We received the first reading of the bond orders. We've made a motion to designate the finance director to file the sworn statement of debt and statement of disclosures, and and the motion also includes setting the public hearing for the bond orders for August 14th, 2023. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I heard 4. All right, thank y'all. Item 6B is the appointment to the Downtown Development Committee for a partial term vacancy with a term expiring June 30th, 2024. I'm going to hear from the town clerk, and I think she's already passed y'all's ballots out, possibly.
Good evening. Oh, wrong side. Okay, there we are. So at the last meeting, June 26th, the board directed the clerk to reach out to the previous applicants after a vacancy became available on the Downtown Development Committee. There were a total of 6 applicants that previously applied for the open spots. Applicants were informed tonight of the process and encouraged to attend if they could and meet the board prior to the meeting. The board will now vote by ballot. You can print your name on the board, on the ballot, and the ballots were placed at your desk prior. And then once the outcome of tonight, I will let all of those know. So our new appointment to the Downtown Development Committee with a term expiring June 30th, 2024 is Lewis Hardy. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 6C is task order number 1, which is the Programmatic Generic Quality Assurance Program Project Plan, and task order 2, Programmatic Support Agreements between Geosyntec and the Town of Wendell for the Brownfield Program.
Thank
Matt.
you, and good evening again.
Yes.
So these are the first 2 of hopefully many task orders from our consultant Geosyntec for their administration of the Town of Wendell's EPA Brownfield Grant and sort of the kickoff of the Town of Wendell's Brownfield Program. So task order 1 provides for Programmatic Generic Quality Assurance Project Plan, which we call a QAP, which is a formal document that describes in detail quality assurance, quality control, and technical activities required by the EPA for the implementation of grant-related work. The EPA requires preparation of a generic QAP to support federally funded environmental programs prior to work beginning. So this is the very first thing that has to happen for any brownfield-related activity. Task Order 1 therefore includes the preparation of the generic QAP and the submittal to the EPA, and is budgeted initially with a not-to-exceed amount of $9,010. Task Order 2 provides for tasks Geosyntec will provide for programmatic support for the implementation of the town's brownfield program, including assistance setting up and reporting in acres, which is a large database of brownfield properties, preparing for and attending quarterly EPA meetings, of which they've already done one, providing assistance for organization and management of program requirements, establishing a web-based file sharing system so that we can share our work as we go along, preparing for and attending requested town meetings like this one, providing regulatory support and corresponding with EPA staff on our behalf. Task Order 2 is budgeted initially with a not-to-exceed amount of $10,459. Like I said, these are the first two of what will be hopefully many task orders as part of our master service agreement with Geosyntec. I would also encourage everybody, as an aside, they will be attending our Downtown Development Committee to give a presentation on brownfields and brownfield revitalization on Wednesday here at 5:30 if you'd like to attend. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. We also have Vicki Garlington here representing Geosyntec if you have any questions about either of these task orders or the work that they entail.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
Can Gregory go back one slide?
Matt can go back one slide.
Oh, even better. Move to approve Task Order 1 and Task Order 2 of the Master Service Agreement between Geosyntec and the town of Wendell, and authorize the town manager or his designee to sign same.
All right, we have a motion to approve Task Order 1 and Task Order 2 for the master service agreement between Geosyntec and the town of Wendell, and authorize the town manager or his designee to sign. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor? All right.
Thank you.
Item 6D is the fiscal year 2024 street resurfacing program bid award to Slurry Pavers.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. The town of Wendell posted a request for proposals for microsurfacing and associated repairs in FY '24. The application of microslurry is used to extend the useful life of the road infrastructure prior to milling of existing asphalt and repaving that occurs at the end of the infrastructure life. This work includes the needed patching, adjustment of manholes and water valves, curbing, ADA ramps, and all other associated work within the road sections identified. The streets program materials estimates were designed by the town engineer. The representative is here with us tonight from Withers Ravenel, Joe Turner, if needed, in consultation with the Public Works Department. The annual program represents the third year of implementation of needed repairs identified in the 5-year pavement condition study completed by Withers Ravenel. Slurry Pavers, Inc. submitted a bid to complete the work in the amount of $609,013.82, with an anticipated contingency amount of 3% for a total of $627,284.23. That amount is within the $691,680 allocated in the FY '24 budget for the streets program. Staff recommends that the board accept the bid submitted by Slurry Pavers and authorize the town manager to sign the contract.
Any questions from the board?
Madam Mayor, I move we accept the bid submitted by Slurry Pavers and authorize the town manager to sign the contract.
We have a motion to accept the bid submitted by Slurry Pavers and to authorize the town manager to sign the contract. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
They have a great name.
They do, they do.
Okay.
Can I ask just a real technical question?
Yeah.
Not technical, but is that, I know it's fiscal year '24, are they going to start work before the winter, or will it all be in the spring?
That is our hope. We're shooting for a fall. The worst case then would be spring, like we did the first time when we did the microslurry, but we're hoping for the fall.
Exciting work. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right, item 6E is the Wendell First Baptist Church co-sponsorship application for the HBCU College and Career Fair scheduled for September 9th from 9 to 3. Ms. Smith.
Good evening. Wendell Baptist Church has submitted an application of co-sponsorship. They, as you mentioned, are hosting a college and career fair at the community center in September. The applicant requests assistance from town staff for the development of materials that they can post on platforms and can be shared by the town on our platforms as well. Approval of the co-sponsorship application would allow us to do so. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board?
Madam Mayor, I move we adopt the co-sponsorship application from Wendell First Baptist Church for the college and career fair.
We have a motion to adopt the co-sponsorship application from Wendell First Baptist Church. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, great. Item 6F is the International Food and Music Festival road closure and co-sponsorship request for September 23rd, 2023.
So the International Food and Music Festival is back again, hosted by St. Eugene Catholic Church. The event is scheduled for September 23rd. Once again, the event will run 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. and is open to the public. Again, the event organizers are requesting approval of the temporary closure of South Cypress Street between 2nd and 3rd Street. Police Department would make necessary road closure announcements and railroad notifications per normal procedures. Also, St. Eugene has requested co-sponsorship, which allow all event fees to be waived. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board?
So what are you cooking this year?
Say.
So I was asking, Commissioner Turner asking what he's cooking this year.
Oh.
Usually kielbasa, but we'll see.
Madam Mayor,
Pierogies from your tent in the past too, I think.
it's a good day. It's a good day in Wendell. Madam Mayor, I move we adopt the temporary closure and co-sponsorship for the International Food Festival.
All right, we have a motion to adopt the temporary closure and co-sponsorship request for the International Food Festival. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving to our other business, update by board committee members. Eastern Wake Senior Center, Commissioner Deloach.
There was not a July meeting, Madam Mayor, for East Wake Senior Center.
Okay. A lot of groups don't meet in July.
Unless they had a secret meeting without me that they didn't let me know about.
All right, the Wendell Volunteer Fire Department and the Wake County Fire Commission, Commissioner Joyner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Wendell Volunteer Fire Department is happy to have hired some new firefighters out of the academy and brought them on in the past weeks and are moving through the implementation of several projects that were included in last year's budget that are now being rolled out. As for the Wake County Fire Commission, we continue to monitor response times through a pretty detailed process that fire services now goes through to identify response times both within communities, between communities, and in places that we call hotspots within Wake County's area. Fortunately for Wendell, while we have a snag on response times that is because of one street in one community that is outside the town's jurisdiction. So I and the county and others are going to work with that developer to see if we can get, I think there's 72 speed bumps in there, and we're going to ask if we could start with maybe 35 and go back from there. But the Fire Commission continues to move on the ARPA Academy, which has been very successful for a variety of ways, and a lot of ways in increasing recruitment and then diversity within the ranks. I think that the percentage of female firefighters shot up like 30% in this last academy over any other academy. Those folks made it to completion, which is not an easy task in an accelerated academy. So good things going on both at the fire department and at the Fire Commission. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. All right, we'll move into our commissioners' comments and stay with Commissioner Joyner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do want to acknowledge Commissioner Boyette being here. It was many years ago now, but we sat on the other side of this park because Town Hall over there was being painted. And there was a kid that was throwing a basketball up against the door right behind where we were having our budget meeting. And Commissioner Boyette said, like, look, that's really nice that y'all are putting some new paint on the walls over there, but eventually you're going to need a new town hall, and eventually you're going to need a new town hall. And I'm not drawing any conclusions other than since retiring last year. I believe this is the second meeting that I've seen him at. So I appreciate Commissioner Boyette. Sometimes you have to be the person that says what is needed, even when it's not the popular thing to say, because let me tell you, in that budget room, it was not the popular thing. When we were fighting over $50,000, talking about a multi-million-dollar project was not the popular thing to say. That said, look where we are. Thank you, Commissioner Boyette, and so many other people that pushed for a long time to put us in a place where everybody that's up here today could celebrate what we have today. It's a lot of people and a lot of time. Staff's done an amazing job transitioning in, and you would think that we'd been here forever. It's certainly nice. I am most heartened by the fact I walked through earlier today, and in order to see a staff member, you have to go past their office now. Used to, you could just walk down like certain hallways and catch like almost an entire division. So I know that some of y'all are probably having separation anxiety, but we certainly appreciate all the work you've put into getting us into a new town hall. If you aren't aware, it's election season, so believe half of what you read and none of what you hear. But I want to congratulate Madam Mayor on having no opposition in the upcoming election. So we know we'll have one back, and we have 2 others on the board that have filed, and certainly congratulate Phil and Joe on filing. I think that Wendell's headed in a really good direction. I think that you can kind of look around and see that. But if you don't believe me, give me a phone call, and I'll tell you all about it. Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I will appreciate the time and the leniency this evening.
Commissioner Eatman?
Nothing else to add tonight, Mayor.
Commissioner Tornaski?
No comment tonight, Mayor.
Commissioner Deloach?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will just say that my friend Cynthia was here tonight. She delivered our invocation. I know her through Pleasant Grove, through the Senior Center, through Meals on Wheels. So we cross a lot of paths, and she's fantastic. She did not mention that Pleasant Grove is celebrating their 160th year. They're having a big-time birthday party celebration this coming Friday night. So we'll have the opportunity to spend time with them Friday night and looking forward to it. And again, just echo thoughts on the facility here. It's pretty fantastic. And we had a great turnout when we were here to cut the ribbon. And lots of folks had the ability to take a look around. If you've not had the opportunity to come and do that, feel free to reach out, and I will be glad to give you a personal tour. So love to see anybody out that wants to come take a look. So thank you.
Thank you. Quick reminder, the Wendell Market will be not this Thursday, but the next. It's time for that to get started. Hopefully, we won't be rained out this time. And more importantly, I wanted to take a moment to thank our town staff for handling our move. And a lot of them I see right here tonight. We've all moved, and we all know how horrible it is. My husband and I have lived in our house for over 30 years because we don't want to move, because it's so horrible. So imagine moving the offices of a town and the things that go with a town. And it seems like it wouldn't be a whole lot, but it really, really is. And imagine building the place that you're going to before you can move. And it's been going on for quite some time. It's really been all hands on deck leading up to. And then during the move, I've seen employees that I haven't seen in a long time in here just doing all kinds of things. And now they're taking care of the little details and punch list things that are still remaining. So they've made it appear seamless, but I wanted to thank all of you for that. I really appreciate it. And the ones that are not here, please extend my thanks to them. I feel spoiled. People from Public Works came in my office and hung pictures for me. I've never had anyone do that for me before, so thank you for that. And thank you for everything, all of you. You really have made it seamless. And I will say it's very quiet in here. It's oddly quiet. You're in here, usually you are able in the town hall to hear movements and doors and little things like that, but it's like a tomb in here almost. It's very quiet, so that's nice. It's good for working. It's good for virtual meetings and things like that. So anyhow, it's a beautiful facility. And I echo Commissioner Deloach. We like showing it off, so let us know if you'd like to take a peek. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, we're adjourned.